39 La Venetia Court, Altadena, California. I'm 12 years old, and my mother just purchased a new home. My sister and I were so excited because this is the first time we've owned something that are our own. Though she bought us a home, we were not rich. In fact, we were poor. We grew up on welfare. I remember a time where my mother sent me to the store and she pulled out of her purse some colorful money that looked like Monopoly money. I was quite embarrassed because it reminded me that I was poor. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 7, 8. I remember that day clearly. I entered into elementary school and I had to take a placement test. And as I looked at the questions, I got completely anxious and nervous, and I started to sweat, and fear just overcame me, and I froze. I didn't do well on that test that day. And so as I entered into the classroom, I noticed so many black faces like my own. Some of them were from my neighborhood, and some of them were from similar neighborhoods. But let me tell you about my neighborhood. My neighborhood produced a lot of people who were involved in gangs. A lot of people who were just hanging out on the corner, drinking and smoking, with no education, a lot of dropouts from high school. And so this was the environment where I truly started out of knowing who I am. And that's all I ever know. Now I'm in middle school. My grades haven't gotten any better. I'm not doing well in reading, arithmetic, or spelling, or anything to do with school. In fact, a lot of my teachers at the time weren't really invested in me. But yet, in my neighborhood, the gangbangers, those who were out on the street corner drinking and smoking, they embraced me. They embraced me. They made me feel as if I was important. And I remember a time when I was at the dinner table with my sister and my mother, and there was a knock on the door. I went to the door, went outside, and I see all these familiar yet angry faces. And they look at me, and they pronounce to just jump on me and beat me and kick me and punch me. And it seemed like it was lasting forever. But then there was a silence. They picked me up, dusted me off, and embraced me. I was now a part of the gang. You see, prior to that, I was just hanging out with them, but I was never initiated. And so at that time, I was a wannabe, but now I'm an Altadena block Crip. I've achieved something, but yet I've achieved nothing in the school. And that's all I've known. Now I enter into high school. Yes. This was the turning point in my life. People were different. There's different ethnicities, there's different socioeconomic background, and I was exposed to things I've never seen before. Didn't even know it existed. Because I went out for the football team as a freshman, it introduced me to this new group of gentlemen. I'm gonna call them gentlemen, not gangbangers. A new group, a group that I felt connected to by the means of playing a sport. And so I started to have a clear vision of who I really am. And so I started to go to the library. I remember the first time I went into the library, it was during lunchtime, and I was walking down the hallway, and I looked inside of the library, and I saw someone who looks just like me. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Really? And I became curious. And so I did what I saw this person did, and I started going to class. And I started going to the library and studying. And before that, because in order for me to play football, I had to maintain a C. So at that time, I was a C student. All remedial classes, mind you, but I was a C student. And so I started really hard in studying, and I joined student government later on, and I became communications commissioner. But let me tell you, the person you're speaking to you today wasn't me then because I stuttered. But I had the courage to accept it. And not only that, I was voted the most likely to succeed? Really? Wow. You know, as I stand here before you today and I think about that, it just brings tears of joy. Tears of, you're doing this thing, Famous, in spite of the projection that you would have. You know, there is, amongst Black African Americans, there is a 35% chance of them dropping out of high school. And we'll talk about the other end of that later. 35% drop out while they're in their 9th, 10th grade. Drop out. But I didn't drop out. A lot of the gangbanging friends that I had, they dropped out. But I didn't drop out. I stayed in there, unknowing what the future would look like for me, but I know it had to be better than what I was experiencing. I knew it had to be better than that 25-year-old OG original gangster telling me, hey man, you got $5 I can borrow? It had to be better than that. And so I did something different. And that's all I ever known. The number 2334478 was still there in high school. But I changed some things there because I became an AB student. An AB student. I made the honor roll several times. Wow. Ex-gangbanger? Honor roll? Studious? Sitting in the library? During lunchtime? Come on now. Come on. And so I had the ability to make it to college. Oh, my motivation, of course, was football. That was my motivation. But when I stepped on the campus there, when I stepped on that campus and I saw other young men who looked like me, may not have the start out that I had, maybe there was a better start out for them, but they held themselves with dignity and pride. They stood up straight. They held their head up. They were articulate. They had purpose. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is me. This is not 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 7, 8. This is me. This is Famous Irwin. This is me. The most likely to succeed. And so, now, I did go to college, and it wasn't easy for me. It wasn't easy. But when is anything worthy easy? It wasn't easy. And so, it took me longer than average to graduate. I had to take several, well, not several, I took one class, statistics. The first time I took the stats class, it was like, F. Yeah, I think that's a sign language for F. F. And I'm like, okay, Famous, let's be real. That shift you made, you're still in the stages of development, so you still have some mentality, so you want to go out, you want to hang out, and you want to chase the girls. And so I didn't do well, but I've always been honest with myself. If I didn't do it, I didn't do it. I wasn't going to cheat, because in college I saw a lot of people cheating. People who didn't look like me cheating. And I said, I can't do that to myself. And so I took the class again. F. And now I'm starting to say, okay, Famous, dude, you may be dumb. You may not have it. And you know that old thought, that old memory probably says to yourself, I'm not good enough. But remember, I'm not a quitter. I got jumped into a gang. I have heart. Sorry about that. I have heart. I have courage. So I said, I'm going to take it again. And there's something about divine intervention. Something about it. Everything I am today is because of my Lord and Savior. Divine intervention. And so I took this class again. I wasn't as nervous as when I went into elementary school. I was a little more confident because I had some success. You see, success breeds more success. And so I went in there with a different level of confidence. I didn't think about the other 2 times that I failed because I was in the present. We have to be in the present, not what happened yesterday, not what happened that I grew up this way or I was jumped into that, in the present. And I took the exam and I get the grade back and it says, A. What? A. Think about it. Think about it. I heard someone today in here talk about, Thomas Edison and George Jefferson and all these times they failed. Put me in that group. Because I succeeded. Yes. And so blacks make up 13% of the US population. 13%. 34% of us are incarcerated in some form, either on probation, house arrest, parole. 34%, 13% make up the population, but 34%? Wow. And so when I graduated, and yes, I did graduate from college with a B. Mind you, the process was, I took a lot of remedial classes, but I worked my way through them, and I was able to go and graduate from college. So now I'm thinking, what do I want to do? I kind of always knew that I was going to be a psychologist. I didn't know what to call it then. I really didn't. But I knew there was something inside of me, an intuition inside of me that said, this is you. This is you. And so I had an opportunity to work in the jail as a probation officer. And I was able to be an inspiration even to some of my little old homies. They had so much respect for me because they were there. Like, Fran, what's up? I was going to say it. What's up, cuz? I'm like, what's up, bro? What's going on with you, man? Man, they kind of got me. All right, man. But I started to teach and educate them. And I started to show them what it looks like on the other side. On the other side. And you don't have to lose your respect for them on this side. Right? That's what great men do. They pull them all together. And so that was that experience. And later on, I got into pharmaceutical sales, ex-gangbanger, corporate America, selling a $10 billion drug, always making bonus every time, 100% to plan, 200% to plan. And I'm like, man, that's another tearful moment for me. That's another bridging of the gap. That's another being inclusive of everyone, because I had white physicians, black physicians, male physicians, female physicians, and I was the same to all of them, and I did well. What do I want to leave you with today? First thing I want to leave you with is, and I thank my friend, I'm going to call him friend, Tony Robbins. I'm going to call him friend, because in my spirit, I know we're going to meet. He said, your past does not equal your future. Your past doesn't equal your future. And today, I'm a psychotherapist. A psychotherapist. I get to intervene into people's lives who are struggling with understanding who they are. And at some point, I didn't know who I was. But because I didn't give up, I found out who I am so that I can share with them who they are. Yes, that's what it did. And my name is Famous Irwin, the most likely to succeed. Thank you.